Hey, Darrell, how's it going, man?
Hey, Adam, I'm doing well. How about you?
It's really nice to finally e-meet you, at least via Skype.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I thank you for this opportunity.
Dude, I love watching the stuff that you make, and you are so prolific, it makes me a little tired just following your Twitter feed, and I love that about you. And I'm also, like, I'm super psyched about the Knights of Ren. So let's talk about where you've gotten so far and where this project is.
Sure. So far, what I've done, I've modeled both helmets for you and I, and I've actually printed yours. Yours is already finished. Would you want to see it?
Yeah, I totally want to see it.
So here it is.
Oh, awesome.
It's already printed. So there's a lot of cleanup work to do because of the orientation that I printed it in.
Yeah.
But for this one, I kind of wanted to highlight two different kind of finishes for the actual prints. So this one would just be like the regular Bondo and sanding. Mm-hmm. And then for mine's, because it's a more smoother surface and there's not as many details, I was going to go the XCC 3D route and then do the sanding and the finishing on those.
And is the texture on this one similar to Kylo's in that it's got that pebbled texture?
I believe so. From the reference pictures, they're drawn pictures, but I would assume they would be the same texture.
Yeah. I think I agree with that. And then I've got a bunch of, I haven't even started to delve in. I built 2 Kylo costumes. Actually, I built one and then I got one from Innova. So I have one I can cut apart for the fabric textures should I need it. But there's other parts to that costume, right?
Correct. It looks like there's a Komodo that's underneath both you and ours. And mine's for the monk has a robe that covers his costume. And then yours has like a jacket that looks like there's a Velcro strap and then it comes around the torso of the body. He also has arm gauntlets.
Right.
I modeled those. I just haven't printed it yet. And then he has some boot covers similar to the Captain America boot covers, but they're black. And it looks like there's leather strappings around the towards the upper calf. He also looks like he's holding a lightsaber. I can model that as well. I already did the belt buckle that he has, and I made it to where we can just run a belt through the sides, and then we could just have it over the belt. And then I also added some like insignia on it just to give it some more life. And then as far as I go, he has a chain, and I already printed and modeled that, so it's really simple. It's nothing too out of the ordinary, and it just has some like Jedi. Some Sith insignia on it. You can see when it's painted, but right now you can't really make it out. And then he has a bunch of these around his calf on the boots.
Okay.
And then they both have actual pouches hanging off their belts.
So as far as the soft fabrics, I think I can do some research over here to get some different textures that we can sew stuff up. I have some kimonos here in my collection. And we can use those as patterns. I also actually happen to have a nice big Jedi cloak, and I've got like a screen accurate Kylo hood, so we can play around with those once you get here to get the fabric stuff working. And as far as the lightsaber, let me take a look at that before you print the lightsabers, because maybe I've got some aluminum stock here. It might be fun to turn those on the lathe and have them be really dimensional.
That would be awesome.
You know, make them shiny and beautiful.
Okay.
I'm so psyched about this project, man. I saw your spear project before I got to see Black Panther.
Wow, really?
So I got to look at your spear was the only spoiler I allowed myself before heading into the theater.
I actually just saw it Sunday.
Dude, it's so moving, so fucking incredible. So is that? I think we're good for right now. I'll start to work on making sure we have all the fabrics that we need for your arrival. We'll make the decision about the lightsabers via email, but you've got all the other stuff on its way. So I think we're ready for you to come to the shop and us to get building.
All right. I'm excited.
Dude, I'm so psyched. All right, man. I'll see you in San Francisco in a little bit.
Thank you, sir.
Bye, Darrell.
Bye.
Hey guys, it's Adam from Tested, and I'm alongside my new friend and co-builder for this project, Darrell Maloney, known online as the Broken Nerd. I've tweeted his stuff a whole bunch of times. Darrell and I, we're about to make a pair of costumes.
Yes, sir.
There is actually an end to this. We're going to be two of the Knights of Ren, and we are going to walk the floor at Silicon Valley Comic-Con, which is at less than a week away. So we've got to construct these costumes, get them all ready, get our characters ready, and hit the floor at Comic-Con in 6 days. So what are the characters we're making here?
We are doing the Knights of Ren. Mm-hmm. So we are doing the monk and the rogue.
Yeah,
and
you're the monk, I'm the rogue.
Yep. And I think the internet knows the rogue as Grenade Face online.
And I noticed he's got like different paint jobs going on here. Some in this one, some of these are checkerboarded, but in the film it looks kind of more uniform.
Correct. I believe in the film it looks more like that chrome silver color, and I think that just from the concept art they had a different color scheme going on.
Facilitate this insane schedule. You have already been doing a lot of prep work for like a month or so, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now walk me through. This is beautiful.
Thank you.
How did you go about making that?
So I modeled this in Cinema 4D. And I just pulled in a 3D model that I had that I used around my head, and Norm sent me over your measurements. So I just modeled around that and just scaled it to size. Printed this on my CR10, and I usually print it in the on 180 on its reverse axis.
How come?
So this way it's less cleanup. And then this way I don't have to slice up the model.
Right.
And the bed is big enough where I don't have to slice it up and glue it back together.
So you can print that as one whole piece.
Correct. So both these helmets were printed in one piece, and they're printed in this axis. But the only thing with that, it leaves a lot of cleanup to do on the top.
Right.
So what I did was I used Bondo, and I'm not really a fan of Bondo. Mm-hmm. But in this case, I did use it because it helps with the cleanup process on the top. There was a lot of cleanup in the front area here. So there was a lot of supports in this area.
Right.
So when you see the time lapse, you'll see that there's just a ton of supports around this particular
And you have to
build.
sand all those out.
Sand it down.
And for example, this is what you're talking about. On these VAM braces here, I see these support little nurnies in the middle.
Correct. So that all gets, and the supports come off pretty easily.
Okay.
And they're pretty easy to clean up. But then it's just the post work of sanding, applying Bondo, spot glazing putty, sanding, and then just repeating that process until you get a smooth product.
I know it well. It's amazing how lightweight these are when you're all done.
Yes.
Can I ask you, if you did print it like this, is it the same in reverse? You have less cleanup up here, but more cleanup down here?
There will be a ton of support that prints in here.
To hold the whole thing up, and you have to scoop all that out.
Yeah, so then you're wasting time and filament at the same time with printing in this orientation. So you're saving time by printing it this way, and then although the cleanup is more extensive on the front end, it's just worth it not to print it this way because you're saving on the filament.
What about people with smaller printers where they've got to slice it up? Do you have a preferred orientation for that?
Whatever works best, and I think a lot of 3D printer guys, they tend to print it in an orientation where they're not using a lot of supports, and they're not wasting a lot of filament. So if I was to slice this, let's say into 4 different parts, I would probably print it, again, this piece sitting up on this axis, and the supports will not be as much because there's not that overhang.
It wouldn't be as hard to get them out.
Correct.
Okay.
And then, so for the middle piece, I would print that straight up, and yes.
All right, so and then here is the monk.
Correct.
And it's the same process, but it's different color filament.
Correct.
Is that right? Okay.
Correct. So this is just printed in yellow filament. Both of these were printed at 10% infill. So that is why it's such lightweight. I tend to print in 100% infill sometimes because it's more sturdy.
Right.
But these, I just wanted to save on time. And it didn't make sense to print these in 100% infill.
So 100% infill means that it's completely solid?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And it gives you just more of a solid piece and less likely to break if you drop it.
Right.
Yeah, so this was, I think both these were like 80-hour prints.
That's half a week.
And I'm used to long prints, so it wasn't bad for me because I'm in and out the house. So
yeah.
But yeah, these were about 80 hours a piece.
I mean, you must have had some prints where you print something in 72 hours and do an 80-hour print, something terrible goes on?
Yes, I actually designed the Hellboy sword that you had made.
Oh, yeah.
And it was about 76 hours into the print. And I believe it had about 10 hours left and came out, totally failed. And it wasn't the printer's fault. It wasn't anything that the printer did. The roll of filament wrapped around itself, so it snapped.
Oh my God.
And the nozzle was about, I couldn't save it because the nozzle was about this high off of the actual print.
It thought it was printing.
Correct.
So everything was working, it was just no...
So I had to stop everything, and I was just like, all right, I'll revisit this in maybe another month or so.
Is that one of those moments you go like...
And I printed the Ben Solo lightsaber, and we had a snowstorm. And I was about 15 hours into it, which wasn't long, but power went out, had to stop the whole print. So yeah, it's a lot of trial and error in 3D printing.
For now it is.
Yes.
And it's reducing every day. Okay, so for the Rogue, we've got the helmet and the two vambraces.
Correct.
And then it's my job on him to assemble the other stuff. I think I have boots that work for this. There also looks like there might be some more structural detail on the vambraces, but we can add that. Oh, I see you've got these guys, which are part of that. Ah, I see. Okay. There's that.
These are interesting because these were printed in steel filament. Ooh. So when we sand these, I sanded a little piece here. If you look, once you go up to a higher grit, you'll start getting a little bit of a shine on that metal.
Wow, and that's built into the filament.
Correct.
Nice.
So you just sand this, and we won't have to do much prep work. So it looks kind of spotty right now, but once we sand this down and get it smooth, and then just give it a polish, you'll see that it brings out that metal shine on these.
I had no idea people were making filaments with that kind of extra feature.
All kind of exotic filaments out there.
And then is this part of yours or
Yes,
what?
this is part of the necklace for the monk.
Okay, so let's walk through the costume parts for the monk.
So the monk has this necklace piece. Mm-hmm. These are
these
yours.
guys go over here, yeah? Cool.
And then this is actually the belt buckle for your costume.
Oh, okay.
So your belt will just slide through that.
Cool.
And then for the monk, he doesn't have a lot of pieces, but he has these individual parts that are around the bottom of his boots.
Okay.
So I think there's about 6 along and then 4 on the bottom. So these would just get glued alongside the boots. Now I could have sanded and maybe cast and mold these, but I just figured I'd just print a bunch of them and then see.
We can likely use pop rivets.
Okay.
To have these be nice and secure. I'd be curious to see how they do when they go in. So this is 10% infill as well.
Correct. These were 10%.
Cool. So I go through the outside, which is what, like a 1/16 of an inch or something.
Correct.
And then on the inside, it's like a matrix.
Yeah, these were printed in like a honeycomb infill pattern.
Okay. And then what else? So then there's all the fabric parts of these two costumes.
Yes.
So you've got this long robe, which is fascinating because it goes like right from here all the way down.
Correct. And then it kind of like gets longer as it hits the bottom of the back.
That's a ton of awesome fabric. That's going to be really cool.
It also looks like there's 2 different kind of pattern, or 2 different kind of fabrics. This looks like a lighter color.
Oh, right. And then there's like this shrug over that that is a separate color. And then there's this whole sort of almost kendo wrap around his chest.
Correct.
Which looks like it goes, I don't know if that's a skirt or just pants.
I think it's pants. There's actually another reference picture that I have, and it looks like it's just pants.
Okay.
Ton of work.
Right. So there's a lot of moving parts. It is now Tuesday, and we've got until Friday.
I think we can get it done.
I totally think we can get it done. I actually bought some mannequins for this so that we can put them up and start to dress them and pattern off of them.
Okay.
I think that it's probably best if you start working on the hard parts while I start getting the fabric and fabric amounts ready. You know, for my first Kylo Ren costume, I just used a pair of black Dickies as the pants because you never see them. And they're kind of back there, and it's a good, hardy fabric that just kind of disappears.
Okay. And it looks like the cape will pretty much cover the pants
exactly
for the most part.
I think I might have a pair of boots that would fit you.
Okay.
So you want to start working on the accessories and the attachments here, and I'll start gathering the fabrics together?
Would love to.
Ah, there we go. I tweeted recently that all mannequins kind of suck, and it's really true. It's really hard to dress costumes on mannequins, but I have discovered for my uses in this shop, 3/4 mannequins are the most ideal. They allow the pants to hang. They're easy and quick to dress because you don't have to thread onto pants. Yeah, and they break down faster. I mean, sorry, it's easier to take a costume off the mannequin faster. I don't mean that they break down, although they can break down. The weak point of these guys is often right here where the tightener attaches to the main pole. But like I said, it's always a balance with the mannequins. All right. Yeah, that's good. All right. Darrell, I've got this extra. I have like so many different vinyl boots from Amazon. I think these will fit you.
Okay.
And those would be pretty good for attaching these guys.
Sure.
So why don't you get started on that, and then when you get these plates to a place where it's time to attach them, I'll reveal some of my attachment methods.
Cool. All right. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start removing some of these support materials in here, and they usually pop out pretty quickly, but because it's such a tight spot, I'm gonna use this needle file just to kind of go in and take some of this support material out. My usual process for sanding parts like these and any 3D printed pieces, I usually start off with a higher grit, so 100 is usually where I start at, and then I move up to 150 and then 220, and then at that point I'll be at a stage where I can go ahead and hit it with some primer, and then I'll come back and get some of those problem areas and then start the sanding process all over again, and then get it to a point where it's kind of smooth, like where these helmets are at. So I'm sanding against the print lines. So the print lines are going in this direction, so I'm sanding against that direction.
All right, dude, I'm back from the fabric store.
Cool.
I have some options. So, in looking at Monk and these different textures, I chose some textures that contrasted nicely in the same way that Kylo's do. So, I found a wool for the inner tunic.
Wow, okay. That looks nice.
Yeah, it's got a nice, different texture to it. And then I thought of this kind of shiny twill for the inside, for this inside thing.
Okay.
What do you call that? The hood. And then, look at this.
That is nice.
This is kind of like this great, it looks almost wet, but it definitely has a feel of Kylo's kind of waxed fabric thing.
Wow. That's perfect.
You like it?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna get on patterning how to sew these two costumes up, because there's a lot of yardage. What I notice in looking at Monk's internal wrap is that there's almost like a kendo feel. So I've actually pulled out my kendo armor that I have from the Mythbusters episode where Jamie and I were smacking each other in the head. And I thought I'd just take a look at some of that and see if there's anything I can learn from the pattern to kind of make work for this, because it's about the same sort of deal, right? Like, it's like that kind of thing. So I could follow that with a vest. Yeah, that's actually kind of great. Awesome. Okay, so I feel like I can pattern off of this baby. question is. The nice thing about this, I wish I could remember the name of this garment. I know it has a name, and I apologize for not knowing it off the top of my head, but the nice thing about it is it lays flat. I am looking at one whole panel here, and that makes it quite a reasonable thing to be able to cut out. Front left panel. If it seems to those of you who are genuine seamsters and seamstresses that I'm being a little cavalier with the patterning on this, I am, because the undergarment that I'm working from is an extra large, so I feel like I've got a lot of room for making it smaller. I'm just trying to get close here. And I'll be able to actually mock this up and put it on Darrell before I start to sew it. So, again, I feel like I've got a lot of room to move here. Stick. Turn around. So what I think I'm gonna do on this, oh yeah, look at that. I can pull these way into here. So, that comes like this. Your sleeve should be more like here. And then, yeah, and then what I'm gonna do for the arms is likely make them taper down. Cool. Right, with a little Velcro here, so they have that feel, and they might be a different fabric than. Oh no, they'll be this fabric, but it'll taper down to the glove. Cool. Yeah. And then the back is the same. Yeah, I feel like. Actually, let me just make one mark here. Here we go. Cool, man. All right. So I just paused because I have a fabric here that has one texture on one side and a different texture on the other side. And I'm about to cut apart two pieces with chirality. That means they're mirror images of each other. And if I didn't get the fabric fullness correct, I would cut out one with a texture on the outside and the other with a texture on the inside. And that would be bad. And I know that's bad because I've done it many, many times. I know I'm using white thread on a black costume, but that's cool because this is all on the inside. You won't ever see it. So chill out. It's not pretty, but it'll do. I will be honest with you, I am good at building stuff, and I'm good at thinking about shapes in my head, but when it comes to how a sleeve connects to the body of a shirt, I am mystified by how that works. I mean, I understand intellectually and from an engineering standpoint what's supposed to happen, but every time I've done it, man, it is a hornet's nest of complication. Great. All right. Hey, Darrell.
Yes, sir.
Can I try something on you here? All right. So, yeah, that's going to be a tight fit around you. There you go. This is the inner tunic, and it's going to come around like that. And I'm going to give you a like a border up around here.
Okay. This feels great.
Yeah, I like the way it comes into the arms.
Yes.
That's nice. With the gloves, that'll be cool. We can do a little pin there too.
Okay.
Great.
Love it.
Awesome. Whew. All right, let's take in progress. Here you go.
All right.
Fabulous. Shot. Oh, whoops. I'm feeling good. That's feeling pretty cool. I got you some of the Kylo Ren fabric from my old Kylo Ren costume as the border here.
Wow. I don't want to touch my hands.
It's all gonna get weathered. See, there's two belts. That's a belt, which means that we want to figure out where this lands on you, and I'll sew this seam so you have a belt buckle for your pants, so we can put on your pants. But then there's this secondary wrap here, and that is something that I can come up with another way to do that.
Okay.
Actually, you know, so it's something like that, you know, around there. And I can make it Velcro around to itself. All right.
All right.
That's great. I dig that. Cool. How much fabric do I buy? I buy too much fabric. That's how much I look for. So this is just a sample of an old Kylo over tunic I had, and I think it needs to go a little lower, but I think it's the right shape.
Yeah.
Right? Like draped over this, and I'll figure out a way to make the hood part of this.
Yep. Wow.
It's sort of shaping up, huh?
Yes.
All right, Darrell, I'm going to measure your shoulder to the break. Let's see here. If you would hold that right there. We're gonna go down to, yeah, I'd say I'm gonna go to 54 inches and then we can trim it up.
Okay.
Perfect. Woohoo! I have made the monk's inner tunic and his belt, and I've mocked up a twill hood. It's a cacophony of black texture fabric because that is what Kylo Ren is, so I'm assuming that's what all the Knights of Ren are. So I've got the hood, the inner tunic, the belt, and now I'm working on this outer tunic, for which I'm actually copying Kylo Ren's, one of Kylo Ren's tunics. I feel like having a lot of cross-pollination between the parts makes sense to me. And I've just measured Darrell's shoulder to how far down I want this to go, and it's 54 inches. So yeah, we're actually pretty good here. It's shaping up nicely. I'm actually feeling pretty good about it. There's a lot of finishing work to do, but it's coming along nicely. Oh, what are these? What are these? These are the new Savage Industry tape measures. You can buy these at adamsavage.com. Here's where we're gonna make a difference between Kylo's costume and this one. We're gonna flare it more, a lot more. So I'm gonna come out like that, because I think it should drape down. Yeah, that's cool. I'm into that. And again, if that doesn't work, I can just trim it back. No cost for the attempt. If you have a fabric with a texture on one side and a different texture on the other side, and one of those two sides is the texture you want, when you fold it up, fold it so the texture you like is on the outside. Then you don't lose it, as I have done many times. Yes. Don't hide your fabrics light under a bushel. All right, Darrell,
Yes.
let's try on a couple things. First, here, let's put this on. There you go. Yep. Okay, so that's gonna come across like that, and that, hold that there. I'm just gonna get a safety pin. Yeah. Then, Go ahead, hand behind you. Yep. Okay. Oh, it's working. It's great. The mannequin's a little broader than you, so it's actually fitting nicely. Okay, so let's There you go. So if I bring this forward like that, dude, shit's happening. That's really nifty. So if I bring that in like this, and these guys, if that literally just almost sews there like that, that's kind of what I want. I'll have to add a piece to that so it goes all the way down.
Okay.
And we're getting some full face balaclavas,
Yep.
like Slender Man, whatever they call them. We'll put armature wire in here so we can sculpt that.
Okay.
And we'll also, once we're finally fitting it, we'll probably have Velcro in it and
Okay.
your helmet, and obviously you'll have foam in your helmet.
Yep.
Cool. I think we're making progress.
Yes.
All right, here, you can take your helmet off. And you can move.
Yes.
Good.
Very freely.
Fabulous.
Fill in, once I sand this down, there's gonna be a lot of deep lines that no matter how much sanding I do, it's not gonna blend in properly. So once I sand this down, I'm gonna use the spot glazing putty to getting in between those deep lines and then blend everything together so we have a smooth surface. And this came from support material and from the raft in the orientation that I printed it in. So I printed it this way, and then we had some support material right here. So when I removed it, it kind of left that rough surface on the bottom here.
Great. And a t-shirt, that's fine. Awesome.
Cool.
On an industrial machine, the raising and lowering of the foot is done with your knee. And there's just this little lever here, but when you're on an industrial big machine, you can do all that foot raising and lowering with your knee, and it's really nice and fast. I've long thought about adding that to this machine, but clearly I have not gotten around to it yet. All right. I'm now adding a wire to the edge of the cowl to facilitate getting it to sit nicely. This is definitely a thing I've learned by reading about other cosplayers' wonderful tips and tricks, because it's hard to get cowls to sit right. And actually, Kylo Ren's cowl has a bit of an armature in it. Go. I'm wrapping up today, Darrell. I have a belt for you, so I'm going to work on your belt buckle.
Okay.
I've ordered this. The under tunic opens low enough that I've ordered you a turtleneck shirt.
Cool.
So I think that'll do nicely to hide everything going up, and we don't need necessarily a whole bunch of extra detail here, but we'll see.
Okay.
And these guys just, I think tomorrow morning you'll start attaching these to the boots.
Yep. And I'm just gonna hit this with primer.
These look great.
Tonight, and then should be ready to go tomorrow. And then we can
Oh,
hit those
you've got
with
Jedi character. I mean, what is that?
Sith.
Sith characters.
Yep.
I can't believe the resolution you can get.
And that was actually printed at 0.2 layer height.
That's amazing. Awesome. All right. See you tomorrow morning.
All right. Thank you, sir.